My 2 alien wives are yours now, human. A dying alien's gift. The war did not reach human space the way most wars did. There were no great invasions, no burning planets, and no proud speeches. Instead, it arrived as silence, long, heavy, and broken only by drifting wreckage. Captain Elias Monroe stood on the bridge of the HRS Quiet Resolve, staring at the holographic display. Twisted metal floated like dead bones near a dying red star. Ships from many alien empires lay broken, frozen in their last moments. This was once a battlefield of giants. Humans were never meant to be here. Scans are clean, said Lieutenant Harper. No active weapons. Life signs, one ship, very faint. Elias nodded slowly. Civilian or military? Military, big one. Design doesn't match anything friendly. Around the bridge, the crew exchanged looks. Humans were new to the galactic stage. They were known for trade, rescue missions, and peacekeeping, not for battles between empires. Most alien powers saw humanity as weak, harmless, and easy to ignore. Elias straightened. We're a rescue fleet. If someone's alive, we help. That's our job. The Quiet Resolve moved carefully toward the massive alien flagship drifting alone. Its hull was cracked, armor torn open like flesh. No escort ships remained. Whoever had owned this vessel had lost everything. Docking took several tense minutes. When the airlock opened, Elias led the boarding team inside. The corridors were dark, filled with smoke and the smell of burned metal. Alien symbols covered the walls, sharp, elegant, and ancient. They followed the weak life signal deep into the ship, into a wide chamber that once looked like a throne room. At the center lay a massive alien being, taller than any human, with dark blue skin marked by glowing silver lines. His chest rose slowly, painfully. Blood thick and black covered the floor beneath him. 2 other figures knelt beside him. They were alien women, tall and slender, with pale skin and eyes like liquid gold. Their clothing was torn, but they held themselves with dignity. When the humans entered, both women looked up sharply. Fear flashed across their faces. Elias raised his hand slightly, palms open. We're human. Rescue team. We're here to help. The women did not answer. Instead, the wounded alien let out a low, broken sound. A laugh, maybe. So humans come at the end, the alien said, his voice deep but weak. Fitting. Elias stepped forward carefully. You're badly injured. We can stabilize you. The alien's eyes focused on him with effort. Too late. My people have already decided my fate. Elias glanced at the women. Who are they? The alien breathed in slowly. My bonded consorts, Salis Neri. He paused, pain shaking his body. And I am High Lord Kareth of the Virelian Dominion. The name hit the humans like a shockwave. The Virelian Dominion was one of the most powerful empires in known space. Ruthless, proud, feared, and this broken figure was their ruler. Harper whispered, Captain. Elias silenced him with a glance and looked back at Kareth. What happened? Kareth closed his eyes briefly. Defeat, betrayal, my fleet's destroyed, my allies fled. His gaze hardened. My own council abandoned me to die so they could take power. Silence filled the chamber. Kareth slowly turned his head toward Salis and Neri. His expression softened just for a moment. They will not be spared. The women stiffened. Elias frowned. What do you mean? Kareth looked back at Elias. Virelian law is clear. When a High Lord falls in dishonor, his bonded consorts are executed. Their deaths erase his line. Elias felt anger rise in his chest. That's barbaric. Kareth gave a weak smile. It is tradition. Salis spoke for the first time. Her voice was calm, but her hands trembled. We are already considered dead, human. Elias shook his head. Not while we're here. Kareth studied Elias carefully, as if seeing him for the first time. That is why I choose you. Elias froze. Choose me for what? Kareth drew a slow, painful breath. By ancient law, a dying High Lord may name a victor, savior, or keeper. That one inherits all remaining obligations. The chamber felt suddenly smaller. Kareth's glowing eyes locked onto Elia's. "I give my bonded consorts to you, human. They are yours now." The words echoed like a weapon strike. Harper stepped forward. "Captain, this." Elias raised a hand sharply. "No." Everyone turned to him. Elias faced Kareth, his voice firm. "I don't accept ownership of people, ever." Sales and Nerai stared at him in disbelief. Kareth frowned, confused. "You misunderstand. This is an honor, a gift." Elias shook his head again. "Then your laws are wrong." A long silence followed. Even the dying ship seemed to wait. Kareth's breathing grew heavier. "If you refuse, they will be hunted, killed." Elias looked at Sales and Nerai. He saw fear there, but also something else. Hope, fragile and dangerous. He made his decision. "I won't own them," Elias said, "but I will protect them. They'll have full rights under human law. No chains, no orders. Their lives are their own." The women's eyes widened. Kareth stared at Elias, stunned. "You would defy tradition and gain nothing." Elias met his gaze. "We gain our humanity." For the first time, Kareth truly smiled. "Then I chose well," he whispered. His breathing slowed. The silver lines on his skin dimmed. With one final exhale, High Lord Kareth of the Virelian Dominion died. The silence afterward felt heavy, sacred. Sales bowed her head. Nerai closed her eyes. Elias stood there, knowing the galaxy had just changed, and humanity with it. Outside the shattered ship, unseen by the humans, automated Dominion beacons activated. A message spread across the stars. The High Lord is dead. The bonded consorts live, and they are under human protection. The galaxy would not forget that. The HRS quiet resolve left the dead battlefield in silence. No victory music played. No celebration followed. Captain Elias Monroe stood alone in the observation bay, watching the dying red star shrink behind the ship. Behind him, Sales and Nerai stood close together. They spoke softly in their own language, voices low and careful, as if the walls themselves might be listening. They were no longer prisoners. They were not guests either. They did not yet know what they were. Human space felt strange to them. There were no chains, no guards outside their quarters, no ritual commands. A medical officer had treated their injuries gently, explaining each step before touching them. That alone had left them shaken. In Virelian culture, power decided everything. The strong commanded, the weak obeyed. Mercy was a lie told before execution. Humans did none of that. Elias turned as he sensed their presence. "You should be resting," he said calmly. Nerai tilted her head. "We are rested enough, Captain." Sales studied him closely. "You speak to us as equals." Elias shrugged slightly. "That's how we speak to people." The word people lingered in the air. For the first time since Kareth's death, Sales felt something unfamiliar tighten in her chest. Not fear, not grief, confusion. News traveled faster than ships ever could. Within days, the galactic networks exploded with reports. "A human captain has claimed the Virelian consorts." "Humanity breaks Dominion law." "Weak species interferes with imperial tradition." Many reports were wrong. Some were lies. But one thing was clear. The galaxy was watching humanity closely now. On the Human Council station, diplomats gathered in emergency session. Holographic screens showed alien representatives arguing, threatening, and demanding explanations. "The Virelian Dominion demands the return of the consorts," said Ambassador Chen. "They claim human interference violates ancient law." Elias stood before the council, calm but firm. "Those laws include execution of innocent people. We won't take part in that." A senior official frowned. "Captain, we are not strong enough for open war." Elias nodded. "Then it's good we aren't starting one." Back aboard the quiet Resolve, Sales and Nerai learned the truth of the situation from human news feeds. The Dominion had labeled them living evidence of treason. Their return would be followed by a public execution to restore order. Nerai's hands shook as she watched the report. "They will never stop hunting us." Sales turned to Elias. "You should give us back." The words hurt her to say, but they were spoken honestly. If you surrender us, they may spare your people. Elias looked at them both. His voice was steady. That's not how humans work. Neri frowned. You risk your species for 2 lives. Elias thought for a moment. No, we protect you because it's right. If we fail here, then we lose what makes us human. They had no answer for that. The first Dominion envoy arrived 2 days later. The alien delegation ship was massive, sharp-edged, and intimidating by design. Its presence alone was meant to force submission. The envoy, Lord Vaeltor, entered the human station surrounded by guards. His eyes burned with cold anger. You shelter property of the Dominion, he said during the broadcast meeting. Return them immediately. Elias stood beside Ambassador Chen. They aren't property. Vaeltor laughed harshly. Spoken like a species that does not understand power. Sales and Neri watched from a secured chamber. They expected Elias to hesitate. He did not. They asked for protection, Elias said. We gave it. End of discussion. Vaeltor leaned forward. Then understand this, human. By Dominion law, you now share their sentence. The transmission cut. Within hours, Dominion fleets began moving. Fear spread quietly across human space, not panic but tension. Humans knew they could lose this fight. The Dominion outnumbered them, outgunned them, and had centuries of war experience. But humans had something else. They talked. Instead of hiding, human diplomats reached out to smaller alien species, the ones crushed under Dominion rule, the ones taxed, silenced, and punished for minor disobedience. They shared information, old records, forgotten laws. Sales and Neri helped. For the first time in their lives, they spoke freely. They explained how Virelian political bonds worked, how consorts were tools, not partners, how executions were used to control nobility through fear. The galaxy listened. Some did not believe. Some were shocked. Some felt anger they had buried for generations. As the Dominion fleet approached human territory, Elias stood on the bridge once more. Enemy fleet entering sensor range, Harper reported. Elias nodded. All ships hold defensive formation. No first strike. Harper hesitated. Sir, they might not stop. They will, Elias said, because we're not giving them what they want. Sales and Neri stood behind him, watching humans prepare not with rage but with calm focus. Neri whispered, they are not afraid. Sales replied softly, they are afraid, they simply refuse to obey it. The Dominion fleet halted at the edge of human space. A broadcast signal opened. Lord Vaeltor's face filled the screen. Last warning, release the consorts. Elias stepped forward. No, silence followed. Then something unexpected happened. Small fleets appeared around the Dominion ships, not human vessels but alien ones. Traders, border worlds, former Dominion subjects. They did not fire. They simply stood there. Vaeltor's eyes widened slightly. Elias spoke again. You're not facing humans alone anymore. The galaxy was shifting. That night, Sales stood at a viewport watching the stars. I was born to die for someone else's power, she said quietly. Elias stood beside her. Not anymore. Neri joined them. If we survive this, what are we? Elias smiled faintly. Free, and whatever you choose to be. For the first time, neither of them felt like a gift. They felt like people. Far away, Dominion leaders watched the growing resistance with fear. They had tried to crush humanity. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy a dangerous idea. Power did not come from control. It came from choice. And the Dominion had never learned how to fight that. The stars around human space had never looked so crowded. Ships of many shapes and colors floated together in uneasy silence. Old traders with patched hulls, defense cruisers from small border worlds. A few human warships stood among them, calm and steady. They did not form a perfect fleet. They did not share the same language. But they shared the same choice. They would not step aside. On the bridge of the HRS Quiet Resolve, Captain Elias Monroe watched the sensor data scroll past. The Dominion fleet remained still, but its weapons were armed. One wrong move could begin a war that would shake the galaxy. Lieutenant Harper spoke quietly. "Sir, they're waiting for an excuse." Elias nodded. "Then we won't give them one." Behind him, Sales and Neri stood together. They had been offered safe evacuation deeper into human space. They refused. "This began with us," Sales said earlier. "We will not hide." Elias respected that. On the Dominion flagship, Lord Vailtor watched the mixed fleet with growing anger. This was not how power worked. Fear was supposed to scatter the weak, not unite them. "Send the demand again," he ordered. A broadcast opened across all channels. "By authority of the Virelian Dominion," Vailtor declared, "all non-human vessels must withdraw. This conflict does not concern you." For a long moment no one answered. Then a small trading vessel responded. "We were taxed until our children starved," the captain said. "This concerns us." Another voice joined. "Our leaders were executed for speaking freely. This concerns us." More followed, calm, clear. Unafraid, Vailtor's claws tightened. "Fire a warning shot." A Dominion cruiser powered its weapons. Before it could fire, something unexpected happened. Human channels opened instead. Elia's voice carried across the void. "If you fire, we will record everything. Every violation, every broken law, the whole galaxy will see." Vailtor sneered. "Your words mean nothing." "Maybe," Elias replied, "but your own laws do." In the days before the standoff, human analysts had worked without rest. They searched ancient Dominion archives, old treaties, and forgotten legal codes. What they found surprised even them. The Dominion's authority depended on strict rules. Rules they claimed to honor. Rules they often broke in secret. Sales and Neri helped expose those secrets. In a public broadcast, Sales stood before a neutral galactic court. Her voice did not shake. "By Virelian law," she said, "bonded consorts are protected witnesses if a High Lord is removed by betrayal." Murmurs spread across the network. Neri continued. "The Council abandoned High Lord Kareth before battle was concluded. That is betrayal." Human legal experts confirmed it. Independent alien scholars agreed. The Dominion's own laws had turned against them. Vailtor knew it. That was why he needed force now. The first shots came anyway, not from the Dominion, but from panic. A small border ship, frightened by a sudden maneuver, discharged its weapons accidentally. The blast struck empty space, but the signal was enough. Dominion cannons powered up across the fleet. "Enemy weapons charging," Harper shouted. Elias did not hesitate. "All ships, defensive action only. Disable, don't destroy." Human ships moved with precision. They did not aim for engines alone. They targeted communication nodes, weapon relays, and command systems. The Dominion had never fought like this. Their doctrine was simple: overpower, break, destroy. Humans fought to stop. Within minutes, several Dominion ships drifted powerless, their weapons silent but hulls intact. Alien allies followed the human example. Vailtor watched in disbelief as his fleet lost coordination. "They are not killing us," one officer whispered. "They are controlling us." In the chaos, a secure transmission reached the quiet resolve. "Captain Monroe," said an unfamiliar voice. "This is Counselor Threx of the Virelian Inner Circle." Elia's eyes narrowed. "You're late." Threx sounded tense. "Lord Vailtor has exceeded his authority. The Council wishes to negotiate." Elias glanced at the drifting ships outside the viewport. "You had your chance." Threx hesitated. "What do humans want?" Elias answered without anger. "Recognition of Sales and Neri as free individuals, public admission of legal violations, and an end to execution-based control." Silence followed. Then Threx spoke quietly. "You ask for the end of an empire." "No," Elias said. "We ask for the beginning of accountability." As negotiations stalled, something more dangerous spread through the Dominion fleet: doubt. Lower-ranking officers began reviewing the broadcasts. They saw proof of betrayal. They heard voices they had been taught to ignore. One Dominion captain made a choice. He powered down his weapons. Another followed, then another. Veiltor shouted orders, but fewer listened. "Traitors," he roared. "No," came a reply over open channel. "Survivors." Sally's watched the battle from the observation deck. Her entire life power had been loud and cruel. This power was quiet and unstoppable. "They are changing," she whispered. Neri nodded. "Because humans showed them they could." On the bridge, Harper stared at the displays. "Sir, Dominion command structure is collapsing." Elias closed his eyes briefly. "Hold position. Let it happen." Moments later, Veiltor's ship lost power, not from attack, but from its own crew. A final message went out from the Dominion flagship, broadcast to the entire galaxy. "This is Lord Veiltor. I am relieved of command." The transmission ended. The standoff was over. No worlds burned. No fleets were erased. But something far greater had fallen. The idea that fear was the only way to rule. In the aftermath, emergency councils formed across Dominion space. Executions were suspended. Political prisoners were released. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Humanity had not conquered the Dominion. Humanity had forced it to look at itself. That night, Elias stood once more by a viewport. Sales approached him. "You could have destroyed them." "Yes," Elias replied, "but then we'd become them." Neri smiled softly. "You fought like this, knowing it would make enemies." Elias looked at the stars. "We made a different kind." Far away, on dozens of worlds, people spoke one sentence with growing hope. "If humans stand with you, you are not alone." The galaxy was learning. Humanity did not rise by crushing others. Humanity rose by refusing to cross the line, even when it could. The war never came. That was the strangest part. Across the galaxy, analysts waited for revenge strikes, hidden fleets, or sudden betrayals. They had seen empires fall before, and it always ended in fire. But this time the stars stayed quiet. Human ships remained at the borders not as conquerors but as witnesses. Inside the Virelian Dominion, the old order broke apart slowly. Councils argued. Governors resigned. Some tried to flee. Others chose to face judgment. For the first time in Dominion history, executions were replaced with trials. People were listening. Sales and Neri stood before the Galactic Assembly, a place where voices from thousands of worlds met. They were no longer dressed as consorts. They wore simple robes, symbols of neutrality and choice. Elias stood behind them, not as an owner, not as a guardian, just as support. Sales spoke first. "I was born into a system where my life belonged to power," she said, her voice calm and clear. "I was told this was order. I was told this was necessary." She paused, letting the silence work. "Then humans refused to accept me as property." Whispers moved through the hall. Neri continued. "They were weaker than the Dominion in ships and weapons. But they were stronger in something we had forgotten: restraint." The assembly voted that day. The decision passed by a narrow margin, but it passed. Sales and Neri were recognized as free individuals under galactic law. It was a small legal change. It changed everything. On a quiet human station, Elias finally rested. The tension he had carried for weeks slowly faded. He had not sought fame, but his name was now known across the stars. A message arrived from Earth. "You did well. You reminded us who we are." Elias closed the message and looked out at the stars. He wondered how long that would last. The Dominion did not disappear. It changed. Some worlds broke away, others stayed, but the executions never returned. Too many eyes were watching now. Former officers stood trial. Records were opened. Truth, once buried, spread faster than fear ever had. Historians would later argue about the moment the Dominion truly fell. Many pointed to the battle that never became a massacre. Sales chose a path few expected. She did not seek power or revenge. Instead, she became a mediator, moving between fractured Dominion worlds. She spoke their language. She knew their fear. And she carried a human idea with her: power does not excuse cruelty. Neri chose differently. She traveled among free systems, helping those who had escaped oppression rebuild. She learned human engineering methods, alien agriculture, and something called community planning. When asked why she worked so hard, she answered simply, "Someone once protected me without asking for obedience." Elias met them again months later on a neutral world. They sat together beneath an artificial sky, sharing simple food. No guards, no titles. "You could have left," Elias said. "Both of you," Saley smiled. "We did. We just didn't leave you behind," Neri laughed softly. "Humans are difficult to forget." Elias felt warmth in his chest. Not pride, not ownership, connection. Across the galaxy, something new entered political language. Humanity, not as a species description, but as a standard. When warlords threatened worlds, others asked, what would humans do? When treaties were written, restraint clauses were added, human clauses, some called them. The idea spread quietly, like light in dark places. Years later, a young alien cadet studied galactic history. He paused at a simple sentence on the screen. The human-Dominion conflict resulted in minimal casualties and maximum reform. Confused, he asked his instructor, why didn't the humans destroy them? The instructor thought for a moment. Because they didn't need to. Elias aged as humans do. His hair turned gray. His hands grew slower. On his final command day, he stood once more on the bridge of the Quiet Resolve. The ship had been retired from combat service. It was now a rescue vessel only. Harper, now a captain herself, saluted him. "You changed the galaxy, sir." Elias shook his head. "No, we just reminded it." Far away on a former Dominion world, children learned history in open classrooms. No fear, no executions, no hidden records. They learned about a dying High Lord. They learned about two consorts who refused to die quietly. And they learned about humans, small, stubborn, and impossible to intimidate. The final record of High Lord Kareth was updated centuries later. His last act was no longer listed as transfer of property. It read, "He entrusted 2 lives to a species that understood they were never his to give." In the end, humanity was not remembered for its ships, not its weapons, not even its victories. Humanity was remembered for the moment it stood at the edge of power and chose not to fall. And the galaxy, forever changed, learned a dangerous truth. If humans decide you are worth protecting,